church, but never in the front row. And one of the interesting things is, as many times as I've looked at this tapestry, which is one of my favorite things about this church, I've never looked at the very bottom and it said, "Let there be light." So I light a candle for that because with your joys and sorrows, it's obvious you're never alone in this church, and I think that's wonderful. So, good morning.
Good morning.
It is beyond wonderful to be here, and I'm honored to speak to you about my spiritual path. I've been on this path most of my life, sort of trudging through the wilderness and meandering along the side paths, enjoying the diversions along the way. And then one day, a huge sign saying, "This way," appeared, and it was presented right here at this podium. But a little bit about that later. Let's think here. My spiritual journey, like many, has wandered, sometimes aimlessly, but always returning to the original path. Early on, I was raised in the Christian faith, right up here past Tree Hill at St. Andrew's Episcopal. I learned to love ritual, song, quiet moments of reflection, but I never felt comfortable with the doctrine and the stories that were taught me. They just didn't speak to me. Even as a child, I found my deepest connections were to nature. I'd spend hours playing outside, climbing trees, listening to wildlife, and enjoying the water. It wasn't until years later that I understood that feeling I had about nature was a sacred connection that nourished my soul. I embrace UU's sixth source of inspiration, spiritual teachings of earth-centered traditions which celebrate the sacred life and instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature. A good friend paraphrased that by saying, "Oh, so you hug trees and bay at the moon." I said, "Well, that's a good place to start." Earth-centered is a broad definition open to many interpretations. And that's fitting considering all the different paths of the immense umbrella of paganism. Paganism is defined as a modern religious movement incorporating beliefs or practices from outside the main world religions, especially nature worship. We in the pagan community refer to the major religions as book religions because despite the thousands of books about paganism, we do not have a central text like the Bible, the Torah, or the Quran. And paganism is nothing new, but rather a revival of ancient ideas and practices. Fortunately, I've been asked to speak only about my path because I could go on for the whole summer series with information about the pagan community, but don't worry because I know about the coffee and cookies downstairs. Believe me, I know about the coffee and cookies downstairs. Oh, and by the way, if Rob and Carlos are here, that filter on the coffee maker needs to be replaced. I set a reminder on my phone when we put it in. Living in Colorado in my teens, I was a solitary practitioner of Wicca. I did not dare bring the subject up in the small town I lived near. And by near, I mean 16 miles away, 8 miles up a dirt road, 8,500 feet at the dude ranch my family owned. 52 acres surrounded by 500,000 acres of national forest. If that's not earth-centered, I don't know what is. I was always seeking more knowledge of paganism, and trust me, there was a lot in ye old card catalog at the library or the local bookstore. I came to peace with just doing my own thing, my own unique spiritual way. I was a homegrown, self-taught pagan. Later, I was able to find many books on the subject, but have remained a solitary practitioner. Now fast forward many years later to a summer series here at UUCJ, where different faith leaders came and spoke about their beliefs. One speaker grabbed me by the soul. She is the temple head of Chosen Path Church, Reverend Laurie Newman, and she is also of the Correllian nativist tradition. Laurie is well known in our Jacksonville community and beyond as a social justice warrior, pagan activist, human rights defender, and all-around good egg. Her words about her faith within the Wiccan and pagan community made my heart sing. When we met in the social hall, it was the beginning of a beautiful friendship. I also met Reverend Don Lewis, the Chancellor and First Priest of Correllian nativist tradition. He resides in Jacksonville and attends Chosen Path when he is not traveling across the country representing our tradition. I'm very honored that both Reverend Laurie and Chancellor Don are here today, along with several members of the Chosen Path Church. Thank you so much for coming. The journey I'm on now includes being clergy in the Correllian tradition. After 2 years, I'm about a third and 2 Scotias away through my training. Correllians use a variety of sources for inspiration. All members belong to other churches, can have spiritual paths, welcome anyone who's interested in spiritual growth. Any of this sounding familiar? I'd like to read just a few excerpts from our creed that will highlight some of the personal experiences I'll be talking about. We believe that inner truth is universal in nature. It is expressed through many outward forms. Deity comes to each person in the way that is best for that person and is unique to him or her. We believe the gods are human ways of understanding interacting with deity. All are equally true and equally valid. They are attempts to understand the ultimate transcendent nature of deity. We believe in a living, spiritually sentient universe, of which all galaxies, stars, and planets are components. The Earth, as one of these components, is equally living and spiritually sentient, and as such, all systems and creatures on Earth are components. We believe that the Wiccan Rede, do as you will but harm none, is the highest moral statement. It's an effective pattern for a moral life. We believe that all religions should acknowledge one another as kindred and stand together as equals. Our similarities far outweigh our differences. My gosh, my first thought was, this is UU with sage and crystals. So what sustains me on my spiritual path? I do believe the earth is sacred. Every physical form on our planet vibrates at an atomic level that makes a unique energy pattern. Because everything is energy, all physical things interact with, react to, and affect each other. I like these words from Dr. David Suzuki. The way we see the world shapes the way we treat it. If a mountain is a deity and not a pile of ore, if a river is one of the veins of the land, not a potential irrigation water, if a forest is a sacred grove, not timber, if other species are biological kin, not resources, or if the planet is our mother, not an opportunity, then we treat each other with greater respect. Thus is the challenge to look at the world from a different perspective. And by the way, I stole that off Laurie Newman's Facebook post. A belief in the divine sustains me. Each Sunday, UUCJ ends the service with, to serve mankind in fellowship to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Divine. I find that word can be touchy with some folks. So what do I mean by divine? I believe is an energy, a conscious force, and the creator of life that is vastly beyond my mind's ability to comprehend. It is all the things physical and spiritual that creates life. It is ever expanding like the universe and seeks experiences on the physical plane that is part of itself that resides in us, our soul. I celebrate the divine as deity that possesses both female and male energies. In my energy work, I utilize that many different facets of those energies. As above, so below. Much of what we experience on the physical plane is mirrored in the spiritual realm. We are from spirit, of spirit, and part of the divine. Karma is part of my spiritual path that keeps me growing and moving forward. Now, it's not what some people think is retribution for bad deeds. Karma is the consequence of not learning a lesson the soul agreed to learn in this lifetime. That lesson will be brought up again and again and again until I pay heed and learn the lesson. Then that karmic debt is released. I do not believe in an entity whose sole purpose is to create evil and chaos by tempting humans to the dark side. Satan, Beelzebub, the devil, those are characters of another belief system. Anyone's bad decisions are their own choosing and not the persuasion of an evil being. I own my mistakes and my bad choices. I believe the soul travels through many lifetimes, learning, experiencing, then digesting the knowledge it gathers. Reincarnation is the soul's circuitous journey, seeking experience and knowledge on the physical plane and returning to source when the physical body dies. Death was never a subject much talked about in my family. I lost many loved ones early on, and sadly was given little instruction on how to grieve or honor their passing in a way that made any sense to me. It is tremendously sad to lose loved ones, but I believe we connect in other lives because souls tend to travel in groups through incarnations. Have you ever met someone and immediately felt a bond, a kinship, an instant friendship that defies description? I know I have, and I've done so with some of you. I recognize a familiar soul when I feel one. It may not make logical sense, but if you've had this experience, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you haven't, you've got something great to look forward to. The cycle of death and rebirth means I am my own ancestor and my descendant. I'll let that sink in for a minute. It took me a while. I have been, I am now, and will be in the future. And this makes it imperative that my actions in this lifetime be made with the knowledge that they will possibly affect me in another. Rituals and energy work support my spiritual path. Group energy magnifies and manifests in amazing ways. Raising energy in a ritual can be described as group prayer. Doing magic is merely using tools and thoughts in a specific way to put our intentions out to the universe. So yes, I love my crystals, chalices, candles, incense, and all the ritual tools we use. They are focal points and symbolic representations of our intent. They aid us in focusing our energy. UU rituals include lighting the chalice, the flower and water communion, the big blue boat, and lighting candles of joys and sorrow. Such repetitive rituals allow participants to quickly alter their state of mind in order to focus their attention and their intention. Rituals, regardless of faith path, philosophy, or belief systems, comes to it from a universal need to stop, center your thoughts, and have a moment of sacred peace. By stepping outside of my physical self and into a practiced mental state of otherness, I can hear rhythms of nature, feel the joys of being, soothe my frayed mind, and restore my weary soul. It can happen in a days-long ceremony or the blink of an eye. Transformation, healing, peace, and love are timeless and limitless. Unless you think it's all oming and solemnity, we laugh a lot at every opportunity. Laughter, I found, is a powerful tool. Anyone can use it. Few oppose it, and more should take advantage of it. Then, trying to briefly encapsulate my rather long journey and process, let me share these thoughts. Pagans use myth, stories, ritual, and really fun tools to attune ourselves with the eternal energies of deity. Exactly what creates and connects us is beyond our understanding, but we attempt to explain it in ways that make sense to us. Everything unfolds in time as it needs to. With free choice, we often thwart our own progress, but we eventually learn our lessons and move forward into higher states of awareness. I do not worship deity, rather I celebrate the existence of something far greater than myself that is also a part of me. The divine delights in our success and does not punish. Life force, universal power, Mother Nature, God, Goddess, we call the divine many things. I revel in moments when I feel connected and transcended beyond the physical plane. This can occur in a ritual, a meditation, or a simple moment that takes your breath away. I remember Donna Janeski speaking of such a moment in her chicken coop, holding a freshly laid egg. I am grateful. Often it seems far easier to focus on the negative and the lack of things instead of rejoicing in what one has. Therefore, I practice to be consciously grateful every day. What draws me to my path is the freedom to explore spirituality in a way that works for me. I've been given tools, pathways, guidance, and support, but ultimately the connection to the divine is uniquely my own to celebrate as I choose. What am I seeking on my spiritual path? Connection. Connection to others, connection to the earth, connection to my higher self, and connection to something far greater than myself. I celebrate the divine in me, in you, and in nature. Through my spiritual practices, I explore the connections to the wonderfully mysterious web of life. So there you have it, my spiritual life in a mini TED Talk. I'll be hanging out downstairs next to the coffee pot if anyone has any questions or wants to say hi. Questions regarding Chosen Path Church can be asked of Reverend Laurie Newman, and any questions about the Correllian Nativist Church can be asked by either Laurie or Lord Don. In ending, I'd like to say something that we say at the end of our rituals at Chosen Path. Merry meet, merry part, and merry meet again. So mote it be.
So mote it be.